everybody, it's Romania Black. So yeah, we're on episode 9 of Mob Psycho season 3, and last episode was pretty trippy. It was pretty trippy, but it was really wholesome. It was really cute, but I get a sneaking suspicion that they gave us that really wholesome, cute episode because we have 4 episodes left of Mob Psycho. And I have a feeling if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen in these last 4 episodes. And we already had an angst arc with the Divine Tree arc, so it's like, what do we do now, right? So I have not gotten a chance to check out the comments about the Divine Tree arc yet. I'm getting ready to go on a trip. This is probably the last recording I'm going to be doing before I leave. So with that being said, maybe I might be able to sneak episode 10 in before I go. I'm going to be gone for like 10 days, so I've been trying to record a lot ahead. But I might be able to sneak episode 10 in. We'll see. If I do, I'll try to answer the comments for the Divine Tree for Dimple's episode and the ones after that before we get to it. So, and then I'll be gone for 10 days. And so by the time I get back, you all will be caught up with me. So then I won't be ahead anymore. So there's that. But yeah, I'll check out those comments, but I'm a little bit nervous for these last 4 episodes because we're at the final 4 episodes. I hate it because I love Mob Psycho so much and I'm not ready to see it go. I mean, technically we have Reigen's spinoff the week after, which we'll talk about that here in a second. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I have no clue what to expect out of these last 4 episodes. I accidentally saw the preview at the end of episode 8 because that episode, where it ended, no one knew. And so apparently Tsubomi's moving. So we're going to have, I feel like that's going to be the catalyst for these last 4 episodes is Mob figuring out how he's going to confess to her and what he's going to do before she leaves. But we'll cross those bridges when we get to them, won't we? As for the Reigen Thirst update, I don't have a very big Reigen Thirst update. I do have, speaking of Dimple, Kiri shared this really, really cute one on the Discord that's Dimple's first follower and friend, and it's Mob. Oh my gosh, it's so precious. I really like this artist's style because they also shared this one, which is actually hilarious. And it's like the idea of like Mob lifting up Ritsu when they're like ages 7 to 8. And then it says ages 13 to 14. It's like, lift using your powers. And he's like, no, I don't want to. And he's like, oh, you did it. And then when they're like ages 24 and 25, he's like, oh, you did it. I'm so proud of you. And like Mob like suplexes, like accidental suplex for Ritsu. I would honestly love it if Mob kept doing like the body improvement club even through high school and young adulthood and like became actually pretty buff. And Ritsu's like, oh God. And then that's where it goes. So that one's really cute. I liked that one quite a bit. Their artwork is great. There's been a few shared on the Discord before. I'm really excited to get done with Mob Psycho, if only to go and be able to see all the artwork. That's what I'm looking forward to. Like I do see a couple like pop up for Reigen and Serizawa occasionally. I've not been on Twitter a lot because I've been holding back for spoilers, but occasionally I'll be like, okay, that looks safe. Like this one here of Reigen. These Reigen pictures are beautiful. The Animo 5 does. Oh my God, I love that art style. So gorgeous. That one at the bottom left corner of Reigen with the big red flower on the blue suit. Oh, so beautiful. I absolutely love it. And then Serizawa, this artwork by a Silly Man Enjoyer, a Dingus Wingus on Twitter, First Bloom. That one of Serizawa is so beautiful. Like he looks so innocent and wholesome. I love Serizawa so much. He's so wonderful. And we need more of him in this last part of the season. I really hope Serizawa was not in the Dimple arc hardly at all. And he wasn't in these last 2 episodes hardly at all. So I'm like, I need more Serizawa before the end of this series. I really do. And then, okay, so I had told you all that I'm going to be looking at the Reigen, like, one-shot, the 1-volume Reigen spinoff at the very end of this season, that I'm going to react to it. Yeah, I still am. But of course, it's April Fool's this last weekend, and I was like, oh, it's April Fool's. And I usually was like, I try not to look too much into it, and I'm pretty gullible. So when I saw this announcement, Mob Psycho 3 graduation event set on the 9th of April 2023, and I was like, I just scanned that headline and was like, oh, maybe I should ask the Discord about it. And it was like, the event consists of 40 minutes of Q&A, a 20-minute concert, and ends with 30-minute presentation about the upcoming Reigen spinoff. And I was like, Reigen spinoff? And my mind was like a torrent, and they had read here for more info. So I clicked the link, And it took me to the Rickroll video. The Rick Astley, never gonna give you up. It took me to that video. And I was like, I hate you. I was like, I can't stand it, darn it. So, yeah, I didn't click on the pictures. I just clicked on the link to get some more info and was Rickrolled and was like, well, that's what I get. So, because I was going to be like, well, I'm not going to react to the manga if there's going to be an anime event about it. But it was an April Fool's, so I guess I'm going to. But I'm very excited to see this episode, but I'm also very, very scared. It was winter break, and I feel like we're going to come off a break, and it's not going to be good. So I'm bracing myself, but what can we do, right? What can we do? So we've wasted enough time. We're going to start Mob Psycho Season 3, Episode 9. We're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. So, I mean, Mob Psycho was a fun series, but now that Mob's gone, no! I'm like, what the fudge? I'm a little bit worried that I'm like, what are we going to do with Mob now that he's been isekai'd by a truck? What are we going to do with him? Yeah, right? Because Truck Kun has come and like whisked Mob off to another world. My thing about it is that I'm like, Mob is either really seriously injured and it's going to throw everything off. Like, he's going to, like, be sent to a hospital. It's going to throw off his meeting with Tsubomi, everything. Or he's not going to be seriously injured despite getting hit by a truck. Because it seemed like he kind of, the impact, maybe he used his psychic powers to lessen the impact. But it's going to, like, Mob is going to be in this sense of emotional distress because everything's ruined now. The flowers are ruined. He's, like, bleeding. He can't go meet Tsubomi-chan. It's going to throw everything off, and he may think he's not going to get his chance again. So, either way, it's not going to be good. It's just a matter of what do we do now. So, but yeah. Oh my god. So, we talk about this episode and talk about Tsubomi and talk about all of them giving them their advice and how that all plays out in this. But I do think it's relevant to note how Mob, the thing of it is, how does Mob view Tsubomi? Why does he like her? And I think Mob is trying to articulate that, but he can't quite put it into words as a middle schooler, right? But I think he knows the answer. He just doesn't quite know how to articulate it yet, right? But he's been thinking about it. So we start out with this flashback where he makes the frogs float, and she's like, oh, how cute. And her eyes, she has the big, big eyes. Now, the filter on the nostalgic memory makes her eyes almost look green, and then they make her look like the aliens that we just saw with Inukawa in the last episode. I'm like, if Tsubomi-chan turns out to be an alien, but she's not. I don't think that's the case at all. And she says, oh, how cute. And he's like, yeah. He's like, and I can make the bar all squishy. And she's like, you're amazing, Mob-kun. And they kind of just laugh and everything. And then it's time for them to go home. And he says, let's go home. And she's like, that was so much fun. And then they walk together, and it's like the dandelions in the distance, which, you know, is a sign of like the dandelions. It's all going to fade away. It's all a dream. Now, here's the thing. She liked his abilities and thought they were cool at first. But then over time, she was like, okay, well, I'm done with that. And I remember back when we first had that scene. We'll talk about it later. But when we first had that scene, I was kind of like, why are you dissing Mob? But now I kind of see that maybe something that could be a benefit to Mob is the fact that she doesn't like worship him for his powers or think that he's omnipotent or like, oh my gosh, like viewing him as this potential like omnipotent godly figure. She doesn't see him like that. She just sees him as a normal person. And that would be a boon. That would be good. Like, I think Mob should date somebody that doesn't consider his powers to be like this crazy thing. I mean, the whole episode I was thinking back to Suzuki and Sho's mother, and Sho's mother clearly didn't care about Suzuki having powers. She didn't really like it at all. She was just like, I like you for you, not your powers. And I get that kind of vibe that maybe if Tsubomi likes Mob, then she might be able to be in a relationship with him because she likes him for him and not his abilities, right? The fact that he's a kind person, not the fact that he has these psychic powers, which is a good thing. If that were the case, I'd be all for it. I'd be like, awesome, good on you, Tsubomi-chan. But my thing is, I don't think she likes him. She told, if we go, unless she was lying to Reigen and the person from cram school is someone else, then I don't think that she likes Mob like in a relationship. She wants to be in a relationship with this other person, and she doesn't know Mob likes her, which isn't her fault. Honestly, it's not Tsubomi's fault that, you know, Mob has a relationship, wants to be in a relationship with her, but can't tell her. Like, how would she know, right? They're childhood friends, but there's never been that sort of relationship. So it's clear that they're neighbors, and that's kind of it. So let's come back to out of the OP. Okay. And then, yeah, cut back to Mob here. So moving. So they all come back from winter break. And I relate to this teacher that's like, get your asses in gear. I was like, yes. It also sounded like Zeke from Attack on Titan, the voice actor. So I'm like, But of course we have like everybody's hopes and future, and Kageyama future prospects, second year Shigeo, Kageyama, like they all have all these aspirations. I don't know why they're in class 2-3. I don't know why. Well, I guess maybe Tsubomi is in their class because they're the second years in class 3. He says Tsubomi is going to be moving. And Mob has had this idea that when he becomes a third year, he'll be in Tsubomi's class and he'll ask her out. And it's one of those things like, if you like somebody, maybe you should let them know before they get in a relationship with someone else. But Mob, I'm glad Mob hasn't. It's a weird thing. I'm glad that Mob has waited until now to tell Tsubomi-chan how he feels, because I feel like Mob at this point is the most emotionally mature and the most able to express his feelings and in the best place possible to tell Tsubomi how he feels. On that end, I'm like, good thing that you waited, Mob. And season 1, Mob didn't ask her out because that probably wouldn't have gone well. But the problem is, now Mob's gotten to this place where he's ready to ask her out, and she's moving. So it's like you waited all this time to get in the perfect place, and then she's moving away. And Mob reacts like you would think, like, what in the world? Like, what's going on? This is sudden, I can't keep up. And we see, like, him seeing her over the years, and he's, like, seen her and never asked her out. He's like, I was supposed to have another year with her to talk to her. He's like, I haven't done anything. Nothing's happened. And then Inukawa's like, oh man, Mob feels a certain way about Takane-san. Like, yeah, Takane. And then there's everybody else in the classroom thinking they need to ask her out. He's like, she's the top idol at this school. Like, Mob just happens to have a crush on the most popular girl in school. How are you going to take on all of these rivals, Mob? And Mob just kind of like looks up at that moment like, what do I do? But that's a very fair question. Like, Mob isn't the only one that likes her. She's liked by everyone in the school. So what do we do about that? So Mob goes to ask the Body Improvement Club what to do. I do love the fact the Body Improvement Club, none of them have experience with girls. Which, God, you think they would. Like, Goda and Odagawa, like, they, like, are buff dudes. You think they'd be, like, have tons of girlfriends. But no, the body is a temple. And it is more important than having a girlfriend, right? I'm like, Goda would surely have a girlfriend. He's like buff as hell. But yeah, I liked that at first, Odagawa is like, oh, well, just grow a pair. Show what white tea poison's made of. And it's like, white tea poison, like, would destroy things. That's probably not a good idea. And Goda's kind of like, well, what is white tea poison made of? And he's like, I don't know. I don't have an answer. They don't know really how to help him. So instead, Goda, like, Kageyama, take off your clothes. And so they do, like, this ceremonial, like, slapping against, like, all the muscles. And they're like, you are developing some excellent muscles there. We're seeing the fruits of your labor. And I love that he's like, I'm sure the person you have in mind will tell you that your muscles are worthy. And I love Mob's little face where he's like, thank you, guys. Like, thank you, Body Improvement Club. Like, I like Goda's like, look, you've been working really hard. A girl's gonna like it. Muscle-wise, you're totally good to go. I did not even think of the idea that as they're leaving, they're like, they left and the Psychic Telepathy Club was still there. So let us strive for new heights and train. I like the Body Improvement Club. I love that the one delinquent is now like fully on board, fully part of the team, fully keeping up. Like they've just, their cult status remains. They're a cult I would join, the Body Improvement Club. But yeah, meanwhile, the Telepathy Club is left behind and everybody's just like... Now, what I like about this is that Tomei's like, are you serious about being in a relationship? Like, are you serious about asking her out? This isn't anything wishy-washy, right? But they're all supportive of her, right? The Body Improvement Club, the Telepathy Club, Teru, Ritsu, they're all supportive, but they all have their own, like the Body Improvement Club is the most, like, basic and simplistic about it. They're like, oh, your muscles are worthy, go for it, ask her out, go for broke. And then the Telepathy Club is kind of like, well, we'll root for you, we're supporting you, even though Tomei's like, you should change your hair. Don't change your hair. Changing your hair will not help the situation. That's Tomei's advice is actually not good advice. But then in comes Takanaka, who's like, oh, the Telepathy Club, like they could give you advice about asking someone out. I love that Mom's like, oh yeah, good point. I love that Mom's like, yeah, they're probably not the best to ask. I'm like, what shade? What, like, such a backhanded compliment. But here's the thing. He comes in with his 90s tennis gear and says, I can't believe Takane-san is moving. I've had a crush on her for a while. Maybe I'll try asking her out too. And Mob's like, oh. He's like, oh, Takanaka, are you planning to read Tsubomi-chan's mind? And he's like, that would never work for too long. So I like that. It almost seemed like Takanaka was kind of like teasing Mob, because I don't think he actually is going to ask her out. But I feel like Takanaka brings up a good point in that I don't know if Mob has realized that every guy in the school likes her. Like, what exactly can he say that they're not saying that will make her realize she likes him, right? And I respect Takanaka for saying that reading minds would never work for too long. He's like, it's not a good idea. It doesn't end well. I think it's because he likes Tomei and that didn't work out before. So he's like, I'm not going to take out my earplugs. And he's like, well, you could be super popular if you read a girl's mind, according to Tomei-san. And then he just laughs. He's like, what would President Kurata know about how a girl feels? I love that she's just like, excuse me. She's like, shut up, you. I actually want Tomei and Takanaka to date so hard, but maybe they'll end up together. But in any case, she's like, fine, then we'll offer you some advice and support. And they're all supportive and wish him the best. And then here's the thing. I do feel for Tsubomi-chan for having this assembly line of guys that she's just like, sorry, bye, bye, bye. I do feel for her that she's being nice. Man, she was cold though, where she's like, do I need to tell you a reason? Which, fair enough, girl. But the way she says it, I was like, damn, that was brutal. But if you consider the fact that she's talked to like hundreds of guys at this point, I get it. I'm like, girl, I don't blame you for being like, leave, please, next. And there's all these guys with like notes and tennis rackets. The basketball player, she's like, I don't even know most of these people. Like, she's like, ugh. She's like, what a pain. She's like, no, she just wants to get it over with, right? Meanwhile, Kageyama's like, I don't know what to do. And then he runs into Misato. Now, Misato, I feel, offers him some really good advice. I like what Misato says. She's like, what are you doing? She's like, she's back outside. And he's like, she's behind the school. Like, she's honest with him. She's like, all the other boys have been asking her out. And Mob's just like, what? And he's like, what are you talking about? It was very dimple face that he gave. And I love that she's like, you do not need to go over there. You will get rejected. And I love that I could just see this in the manga. It's framed as this factory assembly line. She's like, it's a weird factory assembly line producing a bunch of broken-hearted lads. She's like, don't do it. And I agree. The last thing, like, if Tsubomi has had to sit there and say sorry to like 50 guys, even if she does kind of like maybe think Mob is cute, the last thing she's going to want to do is talk to him after all of that. So like seeing her at the school is not a good thing. Like, that is not good for Mob. I'm like that Misato's honest. She's like, you really don't need to do that. Like, don't see him like that. It'll be really bad. So he's like, well, then what do I do? He's like, Misato-san, do you think I should cut my hair? And she's like, what? No, who would tell you that? Why would you cut your hair? And he says, what kind of guys do girls like? And I like that she's just like, she's starting to consider more than just work out. So I like the Misato. She's been around Mob this whole time. And I kind of like that she's like, well, Mob, working out's not everything. I'm glad you're realizing that. There's more to it than just having muscles. I like that Misato's kind of rooting for him. She's like, you need to be a gentleman. You should always mind your manners around your girl classmates. Like, don't be a jerk. I like her advice because she's like, be considerate. Don't be an asshole. She's like, you need to be dependable, be someone reliable, listen and make her think she can talk about anything. If you can be that accepting, then you might be able to handle Takane-san as well. I like the idea she said you'll be able to handle her. Because I like Misato admits, she's like, Takane is not just a pretty face. She does have a personality. You were starting to get more and more of it. She's like, no, she's not just a pretty face. She's a person right underneath that. She's like, yeah. It's like, it seems that most of the guys just like her because of her appearance. And I'm pretty sure that's how she's hiding how she really feels. Because, yeah, as soon as the friends look away, she frowns, right? And she, like, tries to keep appearances. Misato's like, I like that Misato's like, I don't know what the fuss is about her. She's just kind of like a manic pixie dream girl. I'm with Misato. She's like, I don't get all the fuss, but she's pretty. So that's why they initially like her. But she's like, her personality-wise, she doesn't seem to trust anyone or want to be near anybody. She seems like she has a lot of flaws, right? Like anybody would. But Misato's like, she's like, she doesn't seem like a commitment girl. She seems kind of flaky. And Misato's like, I don't know why everybody likes her, but you do you, Mob. I'm sure she has no interest in other people. And Mob's like, how do you know that? And she's like, you can just tell by how she acts every day. She's like, how can you not tell? You should learn to view other people from a different angle every now and then. And that's pretty good advice. Like, you get rose-colored glasses and you get this impression of somebody. And then when you step back and view them from another angle, you kind of get a different view. And like Misato says, I kind of have firsthand experience. I had a huge crush on someone during college. And I thought they were like the bee's knees, like the best person ever. And I was kind of like Mob. I would do like things for them. I'd go pick them up after class. I'd go like drive them to the coffee shop. We'd hang out. And I felt like they could do no wrong. And my best friend was kind of like, okay, yeah. Like, cool. And then later, after heartbreak and rejection and things like that, my friend was like, they're not really that great. And I was like, really? And then I stepped back and thought about things from a different perspective. And I was like, wow, yeah, that really was kind of shady what they did. And that really wasn't good. And my friend was like, yeah, I didn't want to tell you that because I didn't want to. My friend was kind of like Ritsu, like, I don't want to break your heart. And when you have a crush on someone, you don't want to ruin your expectations. But also, you just got to steel yourself because it's probably not going to work out. And, you're rooting for him, but it's probably not going to work out. And that's how my friend put it. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't going to work. But when you have rose-colored glasses and you have a crush on somebody, you kind of like, your brain sort of like ignores the flags and is like, no, everything's fine. When it's really not. And Misato's trying to give Mob some advice. Like, maybe view it from a different angle. And she's like, so Mob, what exactly do you like about her? And Mob can't answer the question. Like, that's the thing. You couldn't respond to that question, so you came here. You couldn't go behind the school, and you can't concentrate on your work. I like that Reigen's like, puppy love, childhood crushes, when him and Sarazawa have no experience at all, which is hilarious. But yeah, I'm kind of with Misato. You need to know why you like somebody, not just by how they appear, but what is it about them that you really care about? What is about them that makes you like them over other people? And then I like that Reigen's like, keep your personal business at home. He's like, of course middle schoolers fall in love by appearances. He's like, I understand why you'd want to believe you're different. But in the end, men are simple creatures. I like that Reigen's like, men are pretty simple. Am I right, Sarazawa? He's like, come on, bro. And Sarazawa's like, I didn't go to school, so I don't know. And Reigen's like, well, you must have at least had a girl you liked. And he's like, no, can't say that there was. Again, look, I'm just shipping Sarazawa and Reigen, but neither of them have ever had girls that they really liked. So maybe they both don't need to seek girls out. Maybe the answer for them has been standing in front of them all this time. I'm just saying. Yep, there never was. And Reigen's like, oh, not even one? I like that Reigen's like, come on, help me out. I don't have any answers for Mob, so you should have some answers for Mob. Right, buddy old pal? I like that Reigen's like, come on, Sarazawa, help me out here. And Sarazawa just is like, I don't have any girls. And so he's like, wait, are you actually serious? And he's like, I honestly am envious that you have someone that you like. I love that he looks to Mob, and he's like, if your feelings don't change despite what anyone says, then you truly do like her. Your feelings are true, right? If your feelings don't waver despite what anybody says, then they're probably true. Then I don't think you have a reason to have to put your reasoning into words. I love that Mob's like, someone gets me, someone understands. It's like, And Reigen's like, yes, that was exactly what I was trying to say. You know, Serizawa just phrased it better. And I like that Reigen's like, what's important is not what you like about her, it's if you truly like her or not. If you're nervous, then tell us how you really feel, right? We'll hear you out. And that's nice. I like that Reigen and Serizawa offer to be like a springboard for Mob. He's like, why do you really like her? What do you feel about her? And he's like, why the reason Tsubomi-chan caught my attention so much. And the thing about it is, in this scene, there's Mob using his psychic powers all around him, right? He's using his psychic powers, everything's floating. And Tsubomi-chan doesn't really seem to notice. She doesn't seem to care. She just is like, hey, let's do this. She treats Mob like a normal person. Let's make a tunnel. And he's like, sure. And then he's just like really happy about that. And then when he tries, he's like, I'm only showing you, Tsubomi-chan, see? And she's like, oh, I'm bored of that. Like, he says, I'm not really so sure myself. And so I got really sad at that scene where she's just like, oh, I'm bored of that, meh. But I do think that what Mob likes about her is that she treats him like a normal person, not like somebody special. And she doesn't like make him out to be a god or anything like that, like other people have in the past. I think Mob, he admires that. He likes somebody that treats him normally, right? Like an actual person. And that's admirable. I appreciate that. Now, does Tsubomi-chan really feel that way about him now? I don't know, because he's not asked her and because she's not asked him. My whole thing with Tsubomi is, and has been, that if she really likes Mob, why doesn't she step up and tell him? And I don't think she really likes Mob. I think she likes the other person. But Mob just hasn't been at the place to ask her. And so my fear has always been that he's going to get rejected by her. And I'm like, nobody puts Mob into a corner. And Reigen's like, I'm not sure. He's like, Mob goes, what should I do when I ask her out? What should I say? And he's like, oh, And I like that we cut from him like sitting in the chair, and then we get the viewpoint where it's just, we don't see his hand in his lap with the phone. But if you look, it's like he has it under there where he can like look down and see. He's like, be fresh and clean, be a good listener, be fashionable, be faithful. Like, he's trying, like, and also be sure to smile and don't be glum. And I like that Serizawa's like, wow, that's really good advice, Reigen. He's like, setting the mood to excite her is also important. And I like that at that point, Serizawa's like, setting the mood? Like they're in middle school. What are you doing, Reigen? And that's when he looks down and sees that it's the phone. Yeah, a manual to asking someone out. Yeah, be sincere and faithful. Like, he's cheating! Reigen doesn't know. Reigen doesn't know the answers either. Like, neither of them have been in relationships. They don't know. But I do like what Reigen says. In the end, don't worry about strategy. There's no point in keeping up appearances with a person you want a deep relationship with. Like, they should see you at your worst, right? And that is kind of the thing. It's about, I do love this advice. Like, don't try to keep up appearances. Be yourself and show them your true self. Don't try to make them think you're something you're not, because eventually they're going to find out. They're going to find out eventually. So you might as well have them see you at your worst. And then that's just how it should go. The question is, like, is that going to end up happening? I don't know. So show her your true self. And if here's the last thing. The last thing Tsubomi-chan wants to hear is you asking out using my words. Like, use your own, right? Just put what you're feeling into words. And so then they thank him, right? He's like, I'll just do that. And then I like Serizawa. He's like, I'm actually surprised you gave him all that advice. That was pretty good. And Reigen says, if it were me, I'd probably try to be slick. Which is what Reigen's done to Serizawa. He's been trying to be slick like all along, and it hasn't worked. So now we're seeing Reigen like put down his barriers for Serizawa, right? I try to be slick. I mean, if they found out who I really was, I'd get rejected in an instant. Which is so sad, because that means that Reigen just doesn't see himself as worthy of being in a relationship with someone. And I'm like, dude, you got second most popular sexy man on Tumblr. You got the goods. You won sexiest man on Twitter. What? Come on now, Reigen sweep. Dude, if only you knew. And he's like, I guess Reigen is pessimistic about these matters. Yeah, Reigen doesn't view himself highly. And Serizawa was like, but he seems really popular with our older lady clients. The Cougars love him. Maybe that's why I like Reigen. Oh, I just want Sarazawa and Reigen to be together. However, he says Mob is different. He should follow the straight and narrow. He shouldn't bother with lies. Yeah, lying is not becoming of Mob, and it will not fare out well, right? So, and then he finds Teru. Teru shows up in the 11th hour to go give him some advice. And Teru, I don't think is interested in girls at all. I think Teru is pretty much interested in Mob. But he's not interested in girls because he talks about being confessed to all the time. And he's just like, they give me cookies all the time. I mean, that's pretty nice, I guess. And so Mob, laments to Teru that he's had the chance to talk to her these past few years, but he didn't expect to suddenly not have the time to do it anymore. And so he's like, you need to be confident. You're not doing anything bad asking her out. He's like, why don't you get her a gift? Like, girls like presents. And Mob, it's so sweet that he's like, all I know how to make are rice balls. I'm like, I would take, if a dude gave me rice balls or sushi, instant win. I'd be like, and we're on the right path. And Teru's like, you don't need to push yourself. There's no guarantee that it's better to give her something. It might not work out. He's like, don't go overboard. He's like, in your case, it could be something as cliche as flowers. I mean, it can't hurt. And he's like, okay. He says, and he's like, I'll help you pick out your clothes. I like that Mob has learned from the Divine Triarch. He's like, I'm good. I've got to be myself. And if you dress me, that will be the last thing that happens. So let's talk about Ritsu. Ritsu goes to see him after dinner and everything. And it's like, okay, so the time has come. Like, we've waited 3 seasons. You're finally going to ask Tsubomi out. Okay, he's like, the time has finally arrived. I like Mob's pink turtleneck. It's very cute. And Ritsu's like, I'm pretty sure I remember her saying that she likes someone. And so we go back to the consulting thing in season 2 when she says, the person I like is from another school who I met at cram school. Okay, so Tsubomi does like someone, but they're not from Mob's school. So that's the problem. The person she likes isn't Mob and it's from a different school. Or she was lying. She was either lying, but she was lying for a friend, wasn't she? Wasn't that the case? She was lying for a friend to see what answers Reigen would give her. I think that was the case, right? Right? Maybe. Or maybe if she does like someone else. Oh my God. And then Reigen gave her the advice to go ask them out. And Ritsu's like, I hope she doesn't turn him down too harshly. Like Ritsu is fully anticipating Mob's going to get turned down. Ritsu is fully anticipating it. And he's like, oh my God, she's going to turn him down. I hope she's not harsh. I hope my brother can take it well. And Mob interprets it as that Ritsu is nervous for him. And he's like, that makes me feel so much better. And I'm like, oh, my fear is that Mob's going to find out that Ritsu knew about the other person from cram school and is going to get really mad. Like, why didn't you say anything? And Ritsu's going to be like, because I didn't want you to feel bad. And it's going to be this big ordeal. That is what I'm afraid of, right? He's probably more worried than I am. Oh my God. And so then Mob calls her up, right? He gets the phone number out. He calls her up because she's the neighbors. And I like that the moment the mom comes in the room, he leaves. He does not want the mom hearing this conversation about him and his crush, right? It's very cute, right? And so he talks to her on the phone and he's super nervous and he wants to meet with her. And I love that Ritsu's just like, oh my God. Like Ritsu's sitting there praying that everything is going to go all right. And he just talks to her all night. And I was like, Ma, but that was your... And which granted... confessing on the phone is not a good thing. Would not recommend it. But I'm just like, you could have just talked to her like a normal person. And I guess he was that night. He could have talked to her and it would have been okay. But, oh my gosh. And so everybody's like, Misato and them and Inukawa are celebrating that he made plans with her. And then Inukawa's like, introduced me to her friends. And Mom's like, okay. And I'm like, Inukawa, you were like the king of an alien species. You don't need to be introduced, ladies. And so then his day passes by. He plays soccer. He talks about how he's not holding in his feelings as much anymore, which is a good thing. And just, he goes to get the flowers. I like that he gets just like the little 1,000 yen bouquet. But because Minagishi sees him, he's like, hey, here's this big bouquet. Trade me out. That's so sweet. He gives him like the big bouquet. He's like, just come on, do it. It's so awesome. I love that. I'm also like, though, Minagishi, if you hadn't have given him the flowers, would that have caused a wreck in the future? Was it a butterfly effect, right? Then we see this kid playing the game, right? And I got a little uneasy vibe about the kid playing the game, and Mob stops the car so that it doesn't hit the cat with the mouse and ends up going, and then the light turns green, and the kid just takes off walking without thinking, and then that's when Mob sees the car coming and the guy's not paying attention. The guy's yawning, not paying attention to the light, and Mob realizes he's going to get hit. And he steps in, right? He steps in at the last minute to save him. Jumps in, and that's it. And then a girl on a broomstick showed up and told Mom he had to be a spirit detective. And that was how that went. And then it was the sequel to Yu Yu Hakusho, right? And that's it. Oh my God. And that poor kid's like traumatized because he just saw somebody get hit by a car. I'm like, excuse me, what we doing? What we doing, show? And he got hit. It looks like he hit the windshield, so maybe it wasn't his psychic powers. I'm like, I'm a little worried. I'm like, no. That's not going to be the thumbnail. By the way, I took a picture of Mob getting hit by the car. That's not going to be the thumbnail. But my only thing is Mob getting hit by the car is, could it awaken something in him to like make him snap? Is like his power. Because he was already at 30%. We didn't see the thing jump up in the climber, but then again, if we watch the next episode, what if it does? I'm going to have to watch the next episode before I leave my trip. It's just got to happen now. It's going to have to happen. There's no going out of it now. It's got to happen. Oh my gosh. So, Tsubomi's moving away. Mob wants to confess. He doesn't know exactly why he likes her, but he's trying to figure that out. And then he gets hit by a van, trying to save a kid. And I'm like, I want Tsubomi to know that Mob, like, saved a kid in that moment. I want her to know that that's why he's not at her date, is because he was saving someone. Oh my God. But what do we do? So I'm going to look at the comments from episode 6 as well as Patreon, and I'm going to look at those before I watch the next episode, and then I'll be gone on my trip for a long time, and you all will basically catch up to me. So there's that. But oh my God, y'all. A little bit concerned. We've been concerned. We have 3 episodes left, and Mob has been hit by a vehicle and is bleeding everywhere, so that's not good. I have no clue what the show is planning on doing at this point, but we'll find out, won't we? In any case, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction discussion. I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below, but I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 10 of Mob Psycho Season 3.